A mine fire in Turkey killed nearly 300 people, 282 people to be specific at the moment, but they're expecting more fatalities. About 88 people were saved, but right now the official government statement is that the fire started after a power transformer blew up inside the mine. Now, there were massive protests in Turkey, and part of the reason why those protests occurred was because they felt that the Turkish government wasn't doing enough to regulate the safety conditions within the mines, and they have had issues in the past of mine workers dying. So obviously this is the more tragic incident since so many people died as a result of this fire. But there were a number of engineers that released a statement, and they were disagreeing with the official statement of the government. In fact, the Chamber of Electricians said the following: the inspection revealed that the systems to sense poisonous and explosive gases in the mine and the systems to manage the air systems were insufficient and old. The blaze started as a coal fire at 700 meters deep, and then air fans pushed the flames and smoke further through the mine, the chamber concluded. The ventilation was not corrected until much later. So they're saying that, look, there wasn't enough done to prevent this incident from occurring, and obviously there has been a great deal of unrest in Turkey over the current prime minister. But if you think that the past issues with the prime minister were bad, now protesters are even more furious because a video has emerged showing a member of the prime minister's party, yes, basically kicking one of the protesters.
Do we have the photos?
We do. We have a still.
We'll the photos are remarkable. And you can see it easier. That's hard to see because it looks like, you know, they got the two guys holding them down, but then you see a guy in a suit. Yeah. Yusuf Yerkel, who's an advisor to Erdogan. I mean, like I got it. The guy. So the guy apparently there was a motorcade, Erdogan's motorcade, and that guy kicked the tire of a car in frustration, and then the special forces guys wrestled him to the ground as they should. Like he can't mess around with the motorcade. Like, I got that. There's security issues. And then this guy was about to get in the car, and he saw it, and this Yusuf Yerkel guy comes out and kicks him. I think twice, but they're, you know, and that photo is, I mean, he's in a suit, for crying out loud.
Yeah. I mean, the response to protesters has been terrible. They've been brutal. They use water cannons. They don't like the protesters. So this doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, in the beginning I said that the protesters were upset over the lack of regulation. They're also upset at a speech that Erdogan gave after this incident occurred. And he kind of made it seem as though, oh, well, you know, this fire is par for the course. This kind of comes along with the territory if you want to be a miner. And of course, understandably, people saw that as a very insensitive statement to make. Yeah. Now, if you look at the other side, if you look at the president of Turkey, Abdullah Gül, he released a statement that was, of course, extremely empathetic, very sensitive to the victims and the family members of the victims. And that's the way you handle the situation. You don't come forward and say, like, that you're a miner. This stuff happens. Yeah. You know, that's not the right way to handle it. And you also don't add insult to injury by treating the protesters that way.
And whether it's Turkey or Chile or West Virginia or Kentucky, I'm not an engineer, but every mining disaster could probably have been prevented with enormous amounts of, to the mining company, money spent to secure safety and to make sure everything is working, and constant inspections, and that's, look, and the balance between profit and safety is very seldom drawn in favor. It seldom weighs in favor of the workers, and that's not just true in Turkey. That's true everywhere. It's certainly been true. It's certainly true here in the United States too.
Yeah, and certainly the mining industry does not have the reputation of being overly concerned with the health and welfare of their employees. Right. I don't know if we could come up with an industry that has a worse reputation when it comes to that.
Yeah, and that's everywhere in the world.
Exactly. And look, to some extent, what Erdogan said is kind of true. I mean, it's sadly, tragically inevitable that accidents like this will happen, and not just in Turkey. As you said, we've had terrible losses of life in America as well. It's sort of a stopgap measure to have increased regulation, but what we need to do is not send people a mile below the surface of the earth to dig volatile fuels out of it, so that then we can burn them and pollute our environment. Like, maybe we should go with a form of renewable energy that isn't as fundamentally and unavoidably dangerous.
Right.
And don't, when you're living, and Erdogan did it, you know, the speech of the examples used of previous mining accidents, again, that's probably not the most sensitive thing to do in the actual moment of grief, like, hey, it's happened to other people before, which many people will interpret it, well, then why didn't we do everything to learn from those disasters
and to prevent it,
But
exactly.
he went all the way back to 19th century England as examples.
He's not very savvy in handling situations like this, and he's certainly not savvy in, dealing with the issues that protesters might bring about. So.
And how you hire this Yusuf Yerkel guy? Like, how you hire a guy who runs off and then kicks some protester when the special forces guys are there? Like, get in the car, man. Get in the car. Move along.